Okay, let's just jump right in. If you, like basically everyone, think of your memory as this giant, stable data vault.
Like a filing cabinet in your head.
Exactly. A filing cabinet where you stash these perfect, unchanging records of the past. Well, you might want to prepare yourself.
Because that entire model is about to be, well, completely dismantled. Welcome to a deep dive into some truly radical ideas about memory.
We're looking at the work of Michael Levin, specifically his perspective on self-improvising memory.
And it doesn't just say memory is dynamic. It frames it as an active agent, something that's constantly adapting to help you survive.
So our mission today is to get past that passive storage idea. We're going to unpack the evidence that memory is, a goal-directed process that's always rewriting itself.
And there is no better place to start, really, than the ultimate biological curveball for that old model.
The caterpillar to butterfly metamorphosis.
It is the perfect paradox. I mean, think about what's actually happening. The sources describe an organism that basically dissolves its own nervous system.
It literally turns into soup inside the chrysalis. A massive physical refactoring, a total brain remodel.
Right. So if your memories were just static files stored in, say, specific neural circuits,
they should be completely wiped clean. Gone.
But that's not what happens. And this is where it gets really mind-bending. The sources point out that the butterfly can actually remember training the caterpillar received.
The information survives. It persists across a transition so violent, the organism is basically a new creature. It has a new body, new ways of moving.
It can't possibly use the caterpillar's specific muscle memories for, crawling. Yet the core knowledge, the sort of generalized lesson from the experience, that's still in there.
So how does that survive? The filing cabinet model just fails here spectacularly. You need something way more flexible.
And this gets at a fundamental biological problem that, it affects everything alive, including you. How does any individual or even a species maintain a core identity over time?
When your cells are constantly being replaced, your body is always changing.
Exactly. To persist, you need a system that actively adapts the old information to the new body it finds itself in.
Okay, so if memory isn't storage, what is it? What's the new model?
Levin's proposal is to recast memories not as records, but as a message from a past version of oneself.
A message. That one word changes everything, doesn't it?
It changes the entire dynamic. A message isn't just data you retrieve. It's something you have to actively interpret based on who you are now.
So we're not historians digging through a perfect archive?
No, we're interpreters getting a telegram from the past. And we have to figure out what it means for us today.
And what's so fascinating is that this goes both ways. If memories are messages from your past self, then what you do right now, the choices you make.
Those are the messages you're sending to your future self. It's a continuous conversation. Every time you access a memory, you're not just reading it, you're reinterpreting it for your current survival needs.
Which brings us to this idea of agency. Now, this is a tricky word.
It is. We need to be clear what we mean by it. The sources explore it as a concept you can actually apply and test empirically. The question is, can these informational patterns, these memories, be considered agential?
Okay, let me just push on that for a second for anyone listening. When we hear agent, we think of intent, right? Or consciousness. Are we saying memories are little conscious things running around?
That's a really important distinction to make. No, agency here doesn't have to mean consciousness in the human sense.
So what does it mean?
In this context, it means the pattern of information has the ability to influence future events, to cause change in its own physical substrate. It's goal-directed behavior.
And the goal is?
The goal is the persistence of the information itself.
Okay, that makes more sense. So what's the evidence that patterns can have this kind of agency?
Well, we've got a few really powerful examples. First, just look inside our own brains. Persistent thoughts, which are just patterns of neural activity, are powerful enough to physically change the brain's structure, neuroplasticity.
The pattern literally rebuilds the hardware to better support itself.
Precisely. And then there are the more striking cases of fragmented selfhood. The sources bring up dissociative identity disorder.
Where different personality fragments show clear independent agency, they act like separate people.
They do. They carry distinct informational patterns and they act on them. It suggests that the pattern, the memory structure, can have agency over the physical brain, forcing it to host multiple, operating systems.
Which all builds to this deeply provocative idea. What if the physical body is just the hardware? The tape, so to speak.
And the bioelectric patterns, the information, are the real drivers, the agents.
So under that view, the way our bodies are built, all those morphogenetic changes, they aren't making the pattern.
The pattern is telling the body how to shape itself so the information can survive. It's self-improvising.
And if that message has to survive something like metamorphosis, it can't be bloated. It has to be compressed. It needs to be incredibly efficient.
You can't store a high-def video of every single thing the caterpillar ever did. You need the abstract, generalized lesson.
So how does an intelligent system, any system, achieve that? How do you force it to generalize?
This is where we get to the bow tie architecture.
It's such a great visual. Picture a bow tie.
You've got this huge wide end on one side. That's all your inputs, all the sensory data, every experience just flooding in.
And all of that diverse information gets funneled through this tiny, narrow bottleneck in the middle.
The knot of the bow tie. And that knot, that bottleneck, is the critical part. It forces the system to compress everything, to generalize.
It has no choice. It has to strip away all the non-essential details and keep only the most vital, abstract patterns.
It's compression born out of necessity.
But why is that so important for intelligence? Why not just have a bigger hard drive and store everything?
Because the goal isn't just to remember the past, it's to survive a novel future. By forcing that abstraction, the system can take the core knowledge from the knot and apply it to situations it's never seen before.
It allows for prediction and fast adaptation.
Much faster than if you had to sift through terabytes of irrelevant specific memories from the past.
And what's so cool is this isn't just some abstract theory. This pattern is everywhere.
It is. The sources point out that this bow tie structure is basically nature's favorite design for managing complexity. You see it in signaling networks, metabolic pathways, all over biology.
For anyone listening with a tech background, there's a really neat analogy here too.
Yes, the sources draw a direct line to autoencoder architectures in machine learning.
Can you break that down just a bit?
Sure. An autoencoder takes a bunch of data, forces it through a really small compressed layer, that's the bottleneck, the knot, and then it tries to reconstruct the original data on the other side.
So to do that successfully, it has to learn what's truly essential about the data?
Exactly. That bottleneck forces it to learn the most efficient, generalized representation. It's the same principle.
It's an incredible link between biology and AI. And to really drive home this idea of patterns having agency, we have to talk about the sea slugs. Yes, the planarians and sea slugs. The sources detail these experiments where they take RNA extracts, which carry these informational patterns, from a trained animal.
And inject them into an untrained one. And the key is, there's no micromanagement. You're just transferring the information.
And it works. The memory transfers. The pattern itself acts as the agent, carrying the capacity for change without needing the whole complex brain structure we assume is necessary.
Okay, let's pivot now to what might be the most radical idea in this whole deep dive.
The idea that failure is actually a feature.
Right. We've said biological systems are unreliable, the substrate is messy, information gets lost in compression, the context is always changing. So how does intelligence even evolve in those conditions?
The answer is so counterintuitive. It's the ability to confabulate.
Which is basically making stuff up, seamlessly reinterpreting incomplete information to tell a story that's useful right now.
And we usually think of that as a bug, a failure of the system.
But this work presents it as a necessary, highly evolved feature of intelligence. Look, in psychology, confabulation is often seen as pathological. Someone filling in memory gaps with stories they don't know are false. But Levin's perspective completely flips that.
So when the organism can't find that perfect static file because the cabinet's been thrown out, it has to do what?
It has to generate a working narrative, a useful story based on the generalized message it received through that bow tie knot. That active reinterpretation is what lets it move forward and survive.
It's self-improvisation at its peak. And by relying on this messy, unreliable system, biology creates what the sources call an intelligence ratchet.
That's the mechanism. Because the system is constantly forced to improvise, to adapt this generalized knowledge to new situations, it gets better and better at reinterpreting information over time.
It ratchets up its problem-solving ability, even if the individual memories aren't 100% accurate snapshots of the past.
Which gives us an amazing lens for looking at our own technology.
You mean AI hallucinations?
Absolutely. We see large language models making up facts all the time. They'll generate these narratives that sound perfectly logical, but are factually wrong.
And our first instinct is to treat it as a huge flaw, something we have to engineer out of the system.
But maybe we're missing the point.
Eh?
If we understand why an organism has to confabulate to survive, we get a much deeper insight into why a complex, compressed system like an LLM also makes up stories.
It's the same basic mechanism.
It's a shared solution for dealing with compression and context. When the bow tie knot is too tight, or the situation is too new for the data it has, the system, whether it's a butterfly or a bot, has to improvise a useful answer to keep moving forward. The hallucination is the agent trying to do its job.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? I mean, this fundamentally changes what you're doing when you remember something.
It's not a snapshot of the past.
It's an active, compressing, self-improvising message that you are constantly rewriting and reinterpreting so that you can survive and adapt. You are not a passive recorder.
You're an active storyteller, constantly editing your own archive to prepare your future self, making sure the core message survives, even if the little details fade away or change.
This was an incredible set of sources to explore, a real deep dive. Thanks for unpacking it with us today.
Before we go, I want to leave you with one last thing to chew on, something that really builds on this idea.
Yeah.
The sources explore this concept of Joseph Campbell's journey for a single cell.
The hero's journey.
Exactly. So if information patterns are agential, and they can persist through transformations as radical as a butterfly's, what does it mean for information itself to be on a journey? To be telling its own coherent, evolving story, independent of the specific body carrying it? That's a question to keep you thinking.